Your morning coffee may contain more than just caffeine. Laboratory tests have detected ochratoxin A, a mold toxin classified as a possible human carcinogen in many popular coffee brands sold across the UK. Today, we're ranking the 8 worst offenders and revealing 3 brands that publish clean lab results. This is the list the coffee industry would rather you never see. Number 8. Illy coffee beans. Illy is the brand people buy when they want to feel sophisticated. That iconic silver pressurized tin, Italian heritage dating back to 1933, the claim that they source from only the top 1% of Arabica beans. It sounds impeccable, but here is the problem nobody talks about. Illy blends 9 different Arabica origins into a single product. 9! That sounds impressive until you realize what it means for traceability. When a batch from one region carries elevated mold levels, it vanishes into the blend. You cannot trace the contamination. You cannot isolate the problem. That pressurized tin was designed to preserve freshness for up to 2 years. Specialty roasters will tell you coffee begins losing its best flavor compounds within weeks of roasting. Illy does not print a roast date on its tins. The pressurization preserves shelf stability, not quality. Illy charges premium prices for a commodity blending model. You are paying for a tin and a legacy, not for the transparency that price tag should demand. But if heritage branding can charge that much while hiding this little, wait until you see what another Italian icon is putting in its bags. Number 7. Lavazza coffee beans. Lavazza has been in British kitchens for decades. That red and gold packaging is practically a fixture. But flip a bag of Qualita Rossa over and read the small print. It is a blend of Arabica and Robusta beans. Most shoppers glance past that line without understanding what it actually means for what ends up in their cup. Robusta is not just a different variety of coffee, it is a fundamentally different product grown under fundamentally different conditions. Robusta thrives at lower altitudes, often below 600 meters, in hotter, more humid environments. Those conditions are precisely where Aspergillus and Penicillium molds flourish. The same climate that makes Robusta cheap and easy to farm is the climate that breeds the organisms producing ochratoxin A. The bitterness you taste in Qualita Rossa is not bold Italian character. It is Robusta doing what Robusta does. So why does Lavazza use it? Because Robusta costs roughly 40 to 60% less than Arabica on the commodity market. It is a margin play. Blending cheaper Robusta into a bag marketed as premium Italian coffee is how you protect profit while keeping shelf prices looking mid-range. Lavazza never discloses the ratio. You have no idea whether your bag is 70% Arabica and 30% Robusta or the reverse. That ratio changes the contamination risk profile entirely, and you are given 0 information to assess it. Lavazza prices itself as a step above budget coffee. What you are actually getting is an undisclosed percentage of the cheapest, most contamination-prone bean variety on Earth, roasted dark enough that you cannot taste the difference. And if an industrial roasting giant can hide that much Robusta behind Italian branding, imagine what happens when a high-street cafe chain starts selling beans in supermarkets. Number 6. Caffè Nero coffee beans. Caffè Nero has over 630 coffee houses across the UK. Their Classico blend has won awards. When those familiar black bags started appearing in Waitrose and Morrison's, millions assumed they were getting the same quality served in store. That assumption is the problem. Caffè Nero states that its signature recipe is known by only 5 people in their family-run company. They position this secrecy as artisanal mystique. In practice, it means the consumer has 0 visibility into the blend. Which origins, what ratio, what grade? You are not allowed to know. The retail bags are Rainforest Alliance certified, which covers environmental and social standards on the farm. What it does not cover is mycotoxin testing, pesticide residue panels, or heavy metal screening. Rainforest Alliance is a farming certification, not a food safety verification. Many shoppers confuse the two. Caffè Nero prices its retail beans at a premium. For that same spend, specialty roasters publish exact farm names, altitude, processing method, and roast date. Caffè Nero publishes a strength number and a flavor description. The gap between what you pay and what you are told is enormous. The roasting profile optimized for a commercial espresso machine pulling shots all day is not the same profile that preserves nuanced compounds for a pour-over or cafetiere at home. You are buying a cafe experience repackaged for retail. If a high street chain can charge premium prices for a secret recipe with no contamination data, wait until you see what happens when a $5 billion corporation gets involved. Number 5. Costa coffee beans. Costa was once a family-run British roaster. Then in 2018, Coca-Cola acquired it for £3.9 billion. That acquisition reshaped everything about how Costa operates, even if the red branding stayed the same. Since the takeover, Costa's strategy has shifted toward global scalability, ready-to-drink canned coffees, vending machines in petrol stations and cinemas through Costa Express. When your parent company is the world's largest beverage corporation, the priority becomes volume and distribution, not bean sourcing excellence. Costa's signature blend uses a mix of Arabica and Robusta beans. They operate one of the largest roasteries in Europe, capable of processing massive quantities. When you are roasting at industrial volumes to supply thousands of cafes, vending machines, and supermarket shelves simultaneously, the beans filling your retail bag are sourced to meet operational demand, not curated for home brewing quality. Industry analysts describe the original acquisition valuation at 16.4 times EBITDA as staggeringly high. By 2025, Costa's global revenue had declined from its 2018 levels. That financial pressure flows downward. Cost optimization at the sourcing level is how corporations recover overpaid acquisition premiums. Costa charges premium retail prices for a brand that is now fundamentally a beverage logistics company owned by a soft drink conglomerate. If this helped you make better decisions, subscribe and stay tuned, because the next 4 brands on this list are even worse. Number 4. Lidl Bellerom coffee beans. Bellerom is Lidl's private label coffee range and one of the best-selling coffee beans in the UK purely because of price. It undercuts nearly everything on the shelf. But the price is not what makes Bellerom deceptive. The packaging is. Look at a bag of Bellerom. The name itself is pseudo-Italian, constructed to sound like it belongs on a shelf in Milan. Bella meaning beautiful, arom, evoking aroma. It is not an Italian word. It is not an Italian brand. It is a name invented in a German corporate office to trigger a specific association in your brain. The espresso cup imagery, the continental color palette, the typography choices. Every visual element is engineered to make you think of a small Italian roastery when you are actually buying a product designed by one of the largest discount retail chains on earth. Open Food Facts data confirms where Bellerom is actually manufactured. Belgium. Not Turin, not Naples, not any of the Italian coffee regions that the branding wants you to imagine. Families like Illy, Lavazza, and Kimbo built their businesses around specific regional roasting philosophies. One reviewer tested Bellerom on a portafilter machine with a Baratza grinder and described the fat content as very low and creamer production as extremely difficult. That is not what you expect from something dressed up to look like authentic Italian espresso. At rock-bottom pricing, you get what Belgium's cheapest contract roaster can produce, wrapped in a costume borrowed from a culture that had nothing to do with making it. But if invented Italian branding bothers you, the next brand takes the retail versus cafe deception to another level entirely. Number 3. Starbucks coffee beans. That green mermaid logo is the most recognized coffee symbol on the planet. Starbucks supermarket beans are in virtually every Tesco, Sainsbury's, and Asda in the country. But there is a critical detail most shoppers do not understand. The beans you buy at the supermarket and the beans used in Starbucks cafes are not the same product. Starbucks licenses its retail coffee operations to Nestlé. Since 2018, Nestlé has handled manufacturing, marketing, and distribution of Starbucks products sold outside of Starbucks stores. Your bag of Pike Place roast from Tesco was sourced, roasted, and packaged by Nestlé's supply chain. The brand is licensed. The beans are Nestlé's. The dark roast profile Starbucks is famous for has its own trade-off. Research published in the journal Foods confirmed that darker roasting significantly degrades chlorogenic acids, the primary antioxidant compounds responsible for many of coffee's health benefits. One study on specialty coffee beans found that dark roasting destroyed more than 60% of the total polyphenol content compared with the unroasted green beans. The longer and hotter the roast, the more of these naturally beneficial compounds are lost. You are trading health benefits for a roast profile that masks bean defects. Starbucks charges branded prices for a Nestle manufactured product. The cafe reputation does the selling. Nestle's commodity supply chain does the sourcing. And if a brand licensing its name to the world's largest food corporation shocked you, the next two private label products reveal what really happens when supermarkets cut every corner possible. If you found this useful, subscribe for more. Number 2. Aldi Alcafe Coffee Beans. Aldi's Alcafe range dominates the discount coffee aisle. Their house blend whole beans are among the cheapest coffee beans you can physically buy in a UK supermarket. That pricing is not value engineering. It is a sourcing philosophy that tells you everything. Aldi operates through contract manufacturing. Alcafe products are produced by unnamed third-party roasters who bid for private label contracts. The lowest bidder wins. That bidder sources the cheapest beans that still meet the minimum regulatory standards. From there, every step in the supply chain is focused on controlling costs rather than improving quality. Nobody involved has much incentive to exceed the legal minimum for testing, freshness, or bean selection. The Alcafe House blend does not disclose where its coffee beans are sourced, leaving consumers with very little information about the product's origin or quality standards. While some Alcafe variants claim 100% Arabica, the espresso blends do not, which typically signals the inclusion of Robusta. One coffee reviewer noted the absence of any Arabica content claim and concluded Robusta is at least part of the blend. That matters because Robusta is associated with higher mycotoxin levels across published research. When a specialty roaster detects an issue with a lot, they reject it and inform the farm. When a contract manufacturer producing millions of bags for a discount supermarket detects a marginal lot, the financial incentive is to pass it through. Rejection costs money. Acceptance meets the contract. No published testing data, no certificates of analysis, no consumer verification. At budget pricing, Alcafe is engineered for one purpose: the lowest price. Every other consideration, including what might be growing on your beans, is secondary. But here is where it gets worse. If you thought the discount model could not get any more stripped back, the number one worst coffee on this list proves you wrong. Number 1. Tesco House coffee beans. The single worst coffee beans you can buy in Britain come from Britain's largest supermarket. Tesco House Blend sits in more shopping trolleys than perhaps any other coffee bean product in the country. It is priced to look like a perfectly reasonable mid-market choice. To understand why it is not, you need to understand how supermarket coffee procurement actually works. Because the problem with Tesco House Blend is not the coffee. It is the buying system that selected it. Tesco does not roast coffee. Tesco does not source coffee. Tesco does not employ coffee buyers who visit farms, cup samples, and select lots. What Tesco employs is a procurement team whose job is to issue product specifications and award contracts to whoever can meet those specifications at the lowest possible cost. A document goes out describing the target flavor profile, the required certifications, the packaging format, and most importantly, the maximum unit cost. Suppliers bid. The cheapest compliant bid wins. This is called reverse auction procurement. The supermarket sets the price ceiling and suppliers compete downward. Every penny a supplier shaves off their bid is a penny removed from bean quality, roasting care, or quality control. The supplier who wins is not the one with the best coffee. It is the one who has figured out how to produce an acceptable product at the lowest margin. The contract is typically reviewed annually. Every year, the procurement team reopens the tender. No supplier invests in long-term farm relationships for a contract that might disappear in 12 months. No supplier rejects a marginal lot when the replacement cost would push them above the bid price that won them the business. The incentive structure rewards cutting corners and punishes quality investment. Tesco House Blend carries the Rainforest Alliance seal, which shoppers interpret as a quality marker. It is not. Rainforest Alliance certifies farming practices at the origin level. It does not test the finished product for mycotoxins, pesticide residues, or heavy metals. A PubMed survey of ochratoxin A in UK retail coffees found OTA in 85% of roast and ground samples tested. Tesco publishes no brand-level data to show where House Blend falls within that range. No roast dates, no farm-level traceability, no published certificates of analysis. The supplier who won the contract is not named. The roasting facility is not disclosed. The most trusted supermarket brand in Britain, in millions of homes operating on the absolute minimum level of disclosure the law allows. That is why Tesco takes the #1 spot. Now, after 8 brands built on opacity, secrecy, and the absolute bare minimum of accountability, here is the good news. Clean coffee exists in the UK. These 3 brands prove that you can roast excellent coffee, test it properly, and still sell it at a price real people can afford. Each one earns its place for a different reason. Safe number 3, Cafe Direct Organic Mayan Gold. If you want clean coffee you can actually find in a normal supermarket, Cafe Direct is where you start. Mayan Gold is stocked at Waitrose, Tesco and Sainsbury's. No hunting down niche websites, no waiting for subscription deliveries. You walk in, pick it up and leave. Cafe Direct has been operating since 1991. Over 3 decades of doing exactly what they say they do. Mayan Gold is 100% Arabica sourced from a single origin in the highlands of Chiapas, Mexico. Not a mystery blend from 3 continents, one place you can point to on a map. It is certified organic by the Soil Association, which means no synthetic pesticides reach these beans during cultivation. It is Fairtrade verified. And Cafe Direct is a certified B Corporation that reinvests 50% of its profits back into farming communities. That is not a marketing line on the bag. It is a structural commitment written into how the company operates. At £4 to £6 for 200 grams, Mayan Gold costs a little more than what you have been drinking. But if you drink coffee every single morning, spending slightly more for a brand that can actually tell you where your beans came from and how they were grown is one of the easiest upgrades you will ever make. That is an excellent starting point. But if you want coffee where every single shipment is independently lab tested before it reaches your cup, the next brand takes accountability to an entirely different level. Safe number 2. Exhale Coffee. Every brand on the avoid list asked you to trust them. Exhale actually gives you the evidence. Every single shipment of Exhale Coffee undergoes 9 independent laboratory tests before it reaches customers. 9, covering pesticides, molds, yeasts, mycotoxins, and heavy metals. The testing is performed by Eurofins, one of the world's largest accredited laboratory networks. And here is what separates Exhale from almost every other coffee brand in Britain. The certificates of analysis are published on their website. You can look at them yourself. Not a marketing claim, not a badge. Actual lab data with your batch number on it. The coffee is single origin from Ethiopia. Soil Association Organic certified. B Corp certified. Roasted fresh to order in the UK. One origin, one farm, full traceability. No blending from multiple sources where a contaminated lot can quietly disappear into the mix. At £10 to £14 per 250 grams, Exhale is a premium purchase. But consider what you're actually comparing. On one side, brands that publish nothing, test nothing, and tell you nothing. On the other, a company that hands you the lab report and says, here is exactly what is in your cup. That transparency has a price. It also has a value that no budget blend will ever match. And if Exhale set a high bar, the brand taking the #1 spot matches it on purity and adds something no other UK roaster currently offers in the same combination. Safe number 1. Mindful Coffee Focus. Mindful Coffee was built to solve a specific problem. Most commercial coffee contains contaminants and nobody in the industry wants to talk about it. Focus, their flagship product, represents the cleanest verified coffee you can buy in Britain today. It is 100% specialty grade Arabica from a single origin in Honduras. Not a blend, not a mystery. One cooperative, fully traceable, with every detail disclosed. Compare that to beans from South America printed on the back of a supermarket bag. Mindful uses third-party laboratory testing and reports that mycotoxins were undetected at a parts per billion level. That is not below the legal limit. That is genuinely undetectable. The coffee is certified organic and fair trade, which means no synthetic pesticides at the farming level and fair pricing guaranteed for the growers. The roast is light to medium, preserving the beneficial compounds that aggressive dark roasting destroys. At £9 to £14 for 250 grams, Mindful is not the cheapest coffee you will ever buy, but you are not paying for clever branding. You are not paying for Italian packaging designed in a German office. You are not paying for a logo licensed to the world's largest food corporation. You are paying to know exactly what is in your cup. Every batch, every time. Coffee is something you drink every single morning of your life. When you add up the exposure over years and decades, the question is not whether clean coffee is worth the extra cost. The question is whether the cheap coffee was ever worth the risk. That is what coffee should be. That is what every brand on the avoid list could provide if they chose transparency over margin. After uncovering what is really behind some of the biggest coffee brands in the UK, one thing is clear. The price on the label does not always tell the full story. The choices you make every morning can have a bigger impact than you realize. Choosing brands that value quality and transparency helps you make smarter decisions. Which brand surprised you the most? Will this change your next coffee purchase? Let me know in the comments. Subscribe for more videos uncovering the truth behind everyday products.